hands and lose all of his floats. And I think that when he decides to flat me pre, there is a decent chance that he is intending on floating the flop and trying to take it away on the turn. So I think that just for that reason, we need to give him the rope to bluff here. I mean, he probably is only going to bluff like 150, 160k, but I think that that is the way to go rather than shove here. Probably. I can't remember what I'm about to do, so I'm trying to make a very balanced argument as to which way to go, but I do think this is a very close spot with a pot-sized bet, especially three-handed. I think I'm slightly leaning towards check shove. I really don't know which I prefer here. I think we can definitely go either way, and I do decide to shove, which I think, I mean, is fine. We are up against this monster draw and managed to fade. I think if we had checked, being results oriented, I think that I think he would probably just shove the turn here, which would also work out fine. But I think the question is what does he do with those 9-10 suited? And I suppose when we do just shove this turn, we do look kind of draw heavy, like an ace-jack kind of hand, but it does just require him to have one of those kind of 9-10, 10-jack kind of things. But he does have the king-jack suited, and luckily for us, we double up. I think if I had been any deeper than I was, I would prefer a check-shove on the turn, but I think just with that pot-sized bet, we could be asking for a disaster if we check and he checks it back. So, yeah, still unsure which I actually prefer, but fine with either, I think. And these two going at it pretty hard. And so just pretty standard sizes, and the ace-king holds. And, I was expecting to be heads up, but this guy must have got the chip lead after we took the king-queen suited hand down. Pretty close here with the king-queen suited to this 17x shove. I think I probably lean towards calling, and luckily for us, he has the king-jack off, and we double up, or take a decent pot. Don't really like double barreling my gut shot here. I don't think there are too many hands that check call this flop that are going to check fold this turn, unless he is just pure floating out of position to take it away. But I'm fine kind of giving up here when he is going to be defending a lot of weak aces and kings and whatnot. But yeah. Just decide to give up again with the queen 5 off. I think I should just probably be starting off by c-betting 100% and seeing if he's going to attack that. We've only seen him check call out of position with a genuine hand so far, so here I decide to 3-bet the king 2 suited. We get a call, and we c-bet, and we double barrel, and river our king. Again, kind of interesting as to what we want to do here. I think that maybe the standard way is to check call or check fold. I think that there's a lot of hands that we've just overtaken that probably don't bet the river. So I think if we're good, it's going to go check. I mean, there are some, I can't really think of too many missed draws here other than other random diamonds. So I think that maybe leaning towards check fold is the way to go. I think all of those kind of medium, we're only beating a kind of like 10 jack, perhaps, that's picked up equity and double floated. So yeah, we do check. I just feel like this is a spot where it's very hard to get value from a worse hand, and he's going to have a lot of checks behind from hands that we beat. And he does have the 7-9, which is pretty standard, I guess. And I just don't know if he's going to call a sort of smallish bet there. He may even turn his hand into a bluff, and then it's pretty gross. So I think that probably checking and probably check folding is the way to go there on the river. Again, we check back the ace-7 off on this kind of a board, and again, I think I should probably just be starting off by c-betting a high percentage, and if he is just floating out of position a lot, then readjusting. But I think to start off with, I prefer to be betting there more than checking. But there are more heads-up people than I. I don't claim to be a heads-up master, so I thought I'd just folded ace-jack off there. But hopefully I can talk maybe about stack size decisions or when I decide to do what I do. Here we open the ace-9 off, and want to give him a pretty good price to continue here, and maybe do let him float us out of position. Pretty bad turn. We just check it back with the intention of calling a lot of rivers. He goes less than half pot here. So I feel this is too good a river for us to just call and decide to make a fairly chunky raise. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting spot. What better hands does he only go for 150k on the river? I felt like if he had a flush, he may even try and check raise the flop. Check raise the river. He could also do what I think he did, which is lead small to maybe get a bluff raise and shove it over the top, or even a value raise. I think I spoke to him after, and I think he said he had 10 jack when we were in the chat box. But I don't know if I believe that. I think that the problem with my river raise here is that I can never really have a flush by checking back this turn, and he knows that. So my range is capped to, I think when I do this, it looks like 10 jack, pocket nines, ace 9. They're the kind of three likely value hands I have. And if we think that he's going to check raise the flop with ace 8 and ace 7, which I do, what hands are we left with that have made a hand good enough that can bet call this river? I mean, yes, he could think that we're bluffing and call with ace 2, but I think as weak as it feels, we should probably just call the river. It's hard to assume that somebody is going to bluff shove here, knowing that I would have had to have value raised the river and then be prepared to fold to a shove, which I think when most people do this are maybe going with their hand. So yeah, a pretty close spot. I hope I've explained that well enough. I guess the key points of this river are when we check back the turn, we almost never have a flush. So by him betting and shoving, if we can't ever call with worse than a flush down, then we have to fold. So he can bluff here 100%. The other thing is how many value hands can bet call the river? Well, given that we've checked back the turn, I was thinking about the fact that given that we can't have a flush, he may have a value hand that doesn't believe our river raise and calls. So yeah, maybe doing what I did is the way to go, even though it seems a little crazy to raise fold a hand as good as this heads up. But yeah, I think that is maybe the way to go, but I'm kind of thinking, and I'm kind of pretty unsure as to what I like the most here again. So a lot of folds. Here we open the king 4 suited, and he 3-bets, decides to 4-bet, and he lets it go. Just c-bet the queen 9. Here with the queen 7, decide to 4-bet again. He's been 3-betting pretty relentlessly, but this time he decides to go with it. So here with the king 5 suited, decide to call and check raise the flop. I think with this stack size, we have some options. We can either bet and shove the river. I think that's probably pretty standard. We could try and check shove the turn against a perceived float that bet calls the flop. But yeah, I think either way is good. I decide to go with the latter and just check shove the turn. I think that when we check raise this flop, he knows that we have a pretty polarized range, and could therefore just be floating to try and take it away on the turn. I think that's what he did. Here I get myself into trouble. Given that we've been checking back a lot of flops, I think that this is another one that we probably should be checking back. He's been fairly attacking on the turns when we have checked back, so I think that this is fine for me to just check it and take and probably call down. But instead I put myself into trouble by c-betting. We get check raised. I decide to call. Pretty ugly looking turn, and he double barrels here. I think a lot of his bluff, I think he is going to be check raising all of his flush draws. Yeah, we beat maybe a kind of complete air in 6-7 or something like this. But I feel like there's a decent chance when he goes this sizing that he kind of is giving us rope to continue. And we do continue. I was hoping I'd fold there. I think looking at it now, this is a turn card I should just be giving up on. I felt in game that when we continue here, we can still have flushes, and we obviously have to have a pretty strong range, and therefore he isn't all that likely to bluff us on the river. We can certainly still have kings here and flushes. So maybe when I think about it more, calling there is fine. But it does 4 flush, and we do fold, and he shows us the queen 7. So well played him. So yeah, I kind of like my call looking back on the turn, and feel that I'm not sure if he's bluffing a non-diamond here, given what should look relatively strong range. So yeah, just well played him. Maybe I got a little unlucky with the river diamond. Maybe I should man up and call the river, but feels like no reason for him to not have it. So I think we've just got to tip our hat and say well played him. Here we defend the ace-6 off, and he checks back the flop. We check call the turn, and check call the river. And I mean, he can be value betting 9 there, maybe a good 8, but there's a lot of hands that have picked up maybe some equity like this one on the turn, and we've seen that he's prepared to continue in maybe situations other people wouldn't. We turn our ace this time, and double barrel, turn and river, and he calls us down with 7s. Maybe slightly surprised he didn't 3-bet to 5-bet shove the 7s heads up there. Here I do 3-bet the 6s to 5-bet shove them, given how much pre-flop aggression there's been. But he does just call, and we get a pretty horrible flop, and I just decide to check fold. I don't get the impression a queen jack suited kind of board is a board he's likely to give up on all that often. I think I'm just getting rid of chips by c-betting there. So here with the ace-king suited, he donk bets, which is a first. I decide to float one, pretty ugly looking turn, so we just decide to give up on the turn. Don't know how I feel about a third barrel here. I think that we'd have to go pretty big to rep a flush. I mean, we could maybe go small with a king like 180, so it could look credible. I think his most likely hand is a kind of 7-8, something like this, and it's just, is he going to really want to fold? And it's been a pretty sort of stubborn battle so far, so I just decide to preserve and give up. And he has pocket 7s, which I'm not too sure if we could have got him off. Here we 3-bet the queen 7 off and c-bet. Double barrel when we pick up a double gut shot, and river our queen. Again here seems very much like a kind of